Hey, Cody, wanted to shoot you a little loom after the team and I have gone through this again. A couple different points of concern that we addressed in last week's meeting and this week's meeting have been across a couple of different issues. That being said, I do want to touch on the last 90 days because obviously no business is built overnight and there are always going to be ebbs and flows in revenue as well as performance, especially whenever it's dependent on having products to sell. I know that largely this week we'd focused on what is now out of stock and now what won't be in stock till the beginning of the year. That's all well and good, but we have to take into consideration what has been done up to this point. You can see here in the last 90 days, we are up 342% in revenue by comparison to the 90 days prior, which is a generally great trend. Secondly, we've increased the conversion rate 248%. It was very low before. It's still by industry standards low now. However, that's in large part due to the price point as well as the fact that we don't have any sort of compelling offers, which I know is originally what I wanted to bring up to you. We've also seen order volume increase 287%, and the returning customer rate increased 76%, nearly doubling since we've been working together. That being said, I did want to touch base on the ad side of things, at least within my immediate control. Mark is unfortunately out of office, so I couldn't get that info from him for this video specifically. But nonetheless, as we go over to Facebook here, you can see that across the entire account, it was a 3.06 since we started working together. And I believe that that was in part due to when Ethan was getting transitioned out. You can see here between the two campaigns that are actively running, though, that we're averaging a 4.11x, and this is across the entirety of our campaigns. That being said, we've driven $94,000 in revenue from Facebook, and on the Klaviyo end of things, we've generated another $30,910 in revenue. We have a good open rate, we have a good click rate. The placed order rate is, yes, poor in large part due to the fact that it is a high ticket product on a new platform. Our placed order rate is increasing, the click rate is astronomically so, and we are actively seeing that things are improving. The one thing that I would raise as a point of concern amongst the core issues is that as we're increasing the conversion rate, as we're increasing the sales, as we're increasing the total order volume, we're noticing the average order value staying relatively consistent around that $1,500, $1,600 mark. I would be keen to know what would happen if we reduced the average order volume, or sorry, not average order volume, average order value to between $1,300 and $1,400 using the products that we know people want that are actively in stock to see if that further improves the conversion rate. Because if we can double the conversion rate with a slight adjustment in what we see in the market, then we will likewise see way more sales. If we can double this by reducing the margin 10%, 15%, 20%, then that's going to lead to significantly more sales and further reduce our customer acquisition cost, which you can see we've been doing here over the course of the since our campaigns have been running. It's on average about $100 less than Ethan's were per conversion, which is also why we're seeing a higher return than before. So some of my thoughts as far as what we can do to make that happen are as follows. There are a bunch of products that we can bundle together, whether it be the blush peony arrangement or a couple of the different peony arrangements, so that we can get closer to that $1,300 to $1,400 price point. So say, for instance, buy two blush peonies, get a dark peony half off, something like that, to preserve the average order value and the luxury appeal. Now, that's not necessarily a discount. That's more of like a bundle offer. But nonetheless, it's still going to be driving up that cost. We could also be pushing more of the white orchids, the white gardenias. There's a lot of different things where we can, quote unquote, assemble your arrangement and give them some sort of incentive. I know that to a high degree, Matthew is opposed to anything that affects price. However, if it doesn't affect price, we're going to see a continual decline in sales. That's the reality of it. It doesn't mean we have to necessarily discount anything, but with industry norms and standards being that the more you buy, generally speaking, the better the incentive, the better the offer, even if it is just free shipping or something like that, it will make such a significant difference in sales. And if his concern is driving revenue or more money, then he needs to be willing to listen to the things that have provably been able to do that. I know that, again, it's not a matter of him wanting to discount or not discount. It's just him wanting to preserve the brand value. There's nothing wrong with preserving brand value and getting better awareness. There's only so many things we can do in the way of cost reduction. Already only left on in the last 30 days the highest performing ads, and that will continue to improve. And we also are seeing an increase in the opt-ins as far as the lists and segments. If we go here to growth tools, profiles, we're seeing a nice continual trend upwards on subscriber growth. And that I don't think is necessarily going to continue dwindling by any means. If we go 10% month over month, that is going to be an opportunity for more conversions. I just think that we have to do something to either drive more of a community involvement, whether it be like selling a Plant Guy membership or something like that, that further offsets costs to us, but gives us the ability to